You're listening to the Play Therapy Parenting Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brenna Hicks, the Kid Counselor. This is the Play Therapy Parenting Podcast, where I give you insight, awareness, and enlightenment about your parenting and your relationship with your kids. In today's episode, we are going to talk about a concept that relates to the child-centered model. We've gone through the pillars, we've gone through the practical application of the pillars, and I want to start getting into some more nuanced type of teaching so that you can really kind of dive into some of these skills and figure out how to implement it consistently with your kids in your families. So one of the things that we talk about a lot from the play therapy perspective, specifically the child-centered model, is that children are so emotional and they live in their emotions to such a degree that it's hard for us to relate to them as adults. Because we have the luxury of being rational. We can intellectually process something. We have the cognitive capacity to analyze a situation and think about it and reason through whatever it is, and our rational thought influences our response. Children have none of those qualities or capabilities. So sometimes we look at what a child is reacting to, or how they're reacting, or the depth of what they're feeling over something, and we just don't get it. And so one of the concepts that we talk about a lot, especially in the private parent coaching, but also just from the child-centered model, we talk about sitting in the pocket of the child's feelings. And what that looks like is we just let the child feel what they feel, and we just sit with them in that feeling. And it can be tricky because, again, we want to rationalize things and we want to reason our way out of things, but kids can't do that. So we meet them where they are. We sit in the pocket of the feeling, and that actually is very, very beneficial in quite a few ways, which we will talk about as we dive into this a little bit more deeply. The path to calm, confident, and in control parenting starts now. All right, so I'm hoping that you all are seeing where this is going here. So if we're going to sit in the pocket of the feeling with our kids, that obviously means we need to reflect their feeling. So let's go back to the first pillar. We're going to reflect the feeling that the child is experiencing. And the way that we do that, most simply, is you, emotion, optional qualifier. So you're really disappointed. You're so proud. We could also add qualifiers there. You're really disappointed you didn't get an A on your test. You're so proud that you got first place in the meet. Okay? So you, emotion, optional qualifier. As we do that, we are helping the child feel heard. We are understanding the child better. And we are helping them to develop an emotional vocabulary. So lots of reasons for reflecting the child's feeling. But here's what typically happens. Because we are rational, we tend to, even if we do reflect a feeling, which, hey, that's a start, right? I mean, you should definitely feel proud if you are reflecting feelings to your kids. What we typically do, though, is we follow up the feeling reflection with a dismissal. So we try to redirect them. We try to convince them not to feel that way. We try to argue with them, even with good intentions. We try to minimize or dismiss the significance of what they're feeling. And what might some of those phrases look like? This is really not a big deal. Or, why are you crying about this? Or, you do too have friends. What do you mean? You're friends with Sally and Susan and Kara and Jenny and... So often our children are expressing to us, either verbally or non-verbally, what they're going through emotionally. And sometimes we miss the opportunity to reflect their feeling altogether. Or if we do reflect the feeling, we follow it up with what is perceived as a dismissal. And what that does is it makes children feel misunderstood and unheard and frustrated. But if we sit in the pocket of the feeling with them, so a child comes home and says, I have no friends. Okay, we immediately want to jump to problem solving. We immediately want to take the pain away. We immediately want to do something about it. None of those are the right things to do because they all make the child feel that what they feel isn't valid. Or that they can't just tell you something and just trust that you're going to just listen. So sitting in the pocket of the feeling is saying, you're really lonely. And letting that be enough. Because you're really lonely. But how about we schedule a play date and then you could... That completely undermines and dismisses the significance of the loneliness. And I've had so many parents say, I feel like I'm just rubbing salt in the wound. I mean, I feel terrible saying you're lonely and then just like letting that sit there. It's like you're just making it worse by saying it out loud. Do you really believe that by acknowledging what your child has already communicated to you, you're going to make the child feel worse? Arguably, you're going to make the child feel heard. You're going to make the child feel understood. You're going to make the child feel that you get them. So when we say, you're really lonely, and then we sit and we're quiet, and we're just in the pocket of that feeling with them, it's a miserable feeling. You have to have a lot of internal fortitude and a lot of internal strength as a parent to sit in the pocket of your child's sad and upset and defeated and unhappy feelings. It's not for the faint of heart, let me tell you. You're going to have to stalwart yourself a little bit. Why? Because we're just going to sit and share the loneliness. Maybe we put our arm around them. Maybe we just sit shoulder to shoulder. Maybe we just look at them and wink. But we're just sitting there and we're just sharing the moment. We do that with happy feelings too. It's just easier with happy feelings. But the point of why I'm bringing this up is because when we don't solve the problem, when we don't distract them, when we don't dismiss it, when we don't express either explicitly or inadvertently, no, you shouldn't feel how you feel. You should feel how I think you should feel. Because that also comes up. A child says something and we go, well, if you would just do this instead, then you wouldn't have to feel that way. So feel what I want you to feel, not how you actually feel. But when we don't do any of those things, this really incredible, magical, beautiful thing happens. The child realizes, I really don't like this feeling. And no one's going to rescue me from this. No one's going to fix this for me. No one's going to get me out of this except me. And guess what? The child will self-regulate. The child will problem solve. The child will figure out what to do. It doesn't have to be your burden. The child needs to have ownership and responsibility for how they feel and what to do about it. So the more we sit in the pocket, it gives children space to realize that they need to figure this out. I don't want to feel lonely, so what should I do? Maybe I need to call my friend. Maybe I need to talk to people at school. Maybe I need to join gymnastics and I'll make friends there. Maybe I need to go to youth group and hang out with some people there. All of a sudden, your child is figuring this out and working on their emotions in their way and in their time. That is so hugely significant for the now and the later. So this is why we sit in the pocket of our kids' feelings, even though it is tricky, even though it is difficult. Obviously, with happy feelings, it's easier. But especially with the negative ones, it requires us to really be okay with the yuck of what our kids go through. And remember, they are exclusively emotional. So they have a lot of big feelings. And often we want to minimize those. Whoa. Okay, easy. Okay, yeah, you don't need to be that excited. But they are that excited. So we sit in the pocket with them. Okay, you don't really need to be this upset about this. Yeah, that wasn't nice, but like, you're going to be fine. We sit in the pocket of it with them. And then they learn what they need to do to sort all of it out. I hope that you find that helpful. That's your challenge this week. Next time your child is emoting and expressing something and you would normally have your standard response, reflect the feeling and just sit and wait. And I would love to hear how it goes. So whether it's a colossal failure or a colossal success, I'd love to hear from you. Brenna@thekidcounselor.com. Shoot me an email and ask me questions, give me updates, tell me your stories. I'd love to hear. Thank you all for the questions that have been coming in. I'm going to be able to answer quite a few questions in the next few weeks. So I appreciate you all shooting me your parenting dilemmas and your parenting struggles. And I will work through those as soon as I can. And we'll try to get a question answered each week along the way. So I'm grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for your commitment to your kids, how much you love your kids, and how you're constantly trying to be the best parents that you can be. Hope that you feel encouraged. We'll talk again soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Play Therapy Parenting Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks. For more episodes and to subscribe to our newsletter, please go to www.playtherapyparenting.com.